In this video, I'm gonna give you some tips to have a strong start in Arknights Endfield and show you some key mistakes you'll want to avoid. On top of that, I'll share some advanced and bonus tips to help you progress smoothly in the game without falling for some common traps. I have played Endfield for over 200 hours by participating in all of its beta tests. Plus, I was also granted early access to a creator server. So stick with me until the end of the video and I will show you everything I've learned. Alright, let's first talk about stock builds, the most important currency in the game. With this currency, you can purchase tons of leveling materials and rewards, including some high-end items. However, when starting out, the best strategy would be to always make sure to first invest the stock builds into upgrading the main features of the game, because the amount of stock builds you make back from those upgrades is significantly higher. You see, normally you'll earn some bills by selling items to the outposts that your factory produced, but it's a slow process, and I know some people will not put too much focus on optimizing their factories. So here's how you can make a ton of stock builds really fast. First, after unlocking stock redistribution, which is this place with the lucky carrot NPC, you'll want to immediately upgrade to the next tier to unlock elastic goods, which are these items you can buy and sell through friends list. There's a limit of how much you can buy and it resets after some time, usually about once per day, but it is important you have a lot of friends to obtain the best price. To do that, just go into the menu here, click friends, and then go to this final tab here and just keep on spamming friend invites to everyone. Refresh the list and keep spamming to build up a roster of friends. Afterwards, go back to elastic goods and go through all of them to see who from the friends list will buy for the highest price. Click on their portrait and choose visit friendship option. That's it. Now you just sell the goods and you make insane profits. If you don't have the stock builds to buy all the goods at once, just buy the rest of them from the profit you made. Seriously, make sure to always max out the amount you're allowed before the reset. And keep in mind, the limit of elastic goods immediately increases after upgrading the stock redistribution level, which means you can start making more bills. Now, the other easy way to make stock bills quickly would be the depot station. You can do, I believe, only one run per day per station. So if you have the bills, make sure to first upgrade the depot before doing a run, because you will unlock new methods of delivery which provide much higher bill revenue. Oh, and you can also earn some by doing those depot runs for other players. Finally, later in the game, you'll unlock monitoring job in Wuling region. So just make sure to do those tasks for tons of Wuling stock bills. Look, the point is, in early to mid game, don't spend your bills on the stuff you can buy at the stock redistribution. I know it has some summon tickets and other leveling materials, but you can gain so many more rewards so much faster by just being a little patient when starting out. In short, spend the bills on upgrading both stock redistribution and depot, and always make sure to buy up all the elastic goods every day, and find someone on your friends list who offer the best selling price. And remember, there's multiple of each of these facilities. In total, I believe there's 3 of each shown here in Valley 4 region and 1 of each in Wuling. So keep those bills ready to buy up the newly discovered facilities and upgrade them as soon as possible. And before you know it, you'll be swimming in millions of bills, and you can then easily buy out everything and start saving up for those high-end items for gear and essences. Now, let's take a break from making money and talk about combat. More specifically, high-value teammates. Endfield has a lot of depth when it comes to team comps, but for now, I'll keep this short and share a few recommendations, although I will be releasing a team building guide pretty soon after this video. Anyway, there's a bunch of classes in the game, but one of the most crucial ones so far is the Vanguard, because they help restore skill points or SP for the team. I mean, you can spam the skills all you want, but I'm sure after a few hours of gameplay when starting out, you'll notice how slowly the SP regions. Luckily, Akakuri, I don't know if I pronounced her name correctly, but anyway, she's a Vanguard and she's really good at restoring SP. You can see here how fast the points are regained, and she helps a lot with spamming skills. Also, she's a 4-star, so it's only a matter of time before you max out her potential from her dupes. However, if you got lucky and pulled Pogranichnik, he is the only 6-star Vanguard in the game right now, and he also restores SP extremely well. Plus, if you're thinking of building physical teams, he's going to be quite essential. Now, aside from Vanguards, there's also Antal, who is exceptionally good at boosting electric and heat damage. And again, he is a 4-star unit, so very easy to max out his potential. Seriously, if you're considering pulling for Levitain, he's going to be an amazing damage booster, almost like Benny from Genshin. Well, except this guy barely heals, but his damage boosting is amazing. Speaking of which, I'd also recommend investing into a healer. Yes, you can use healing items, but there's a limit to how many of them can be consumed during combat, and in the endgame mode Umbral Monument, at least back in closed beta test, healers were crucial to beat it. Thankfully, you can obtain Ardelia on day 3 sign-in event. She's a 6-star unit, and not only is her healing amazing, but very cute as well. She summons these little sheep to drop health points that you can pick up. Plus, she also helps reduce enemies' resistance, so you can improve the team's DPS as well. Other than that, as I said, full teams guide coming soon, but while we're at it, here are some team comps you can check out in the meantime. Don't worry too much about losing resources up until level 30 or 40, it's very cheap to build any unit. And remember, nobody can tell right now this early into the game's launch what the current meta is, but theory crafters have already identified some decent units. Alright, this next one is pretty simple. You'll notice these recycling stations with a cute owl. These stations provide daily materials that you can use to upgrade your spaceship chambers, which provide leveling materials. If you want to max out the chambers as fast as possible, I highly advise you to spend the stock bills upgrading these stations because you will only start obtaining its new rewards after the next daily server reset. Unless you immediately upgrade the station, then it will give its previous rewards. But at the highest tier, you'll have to wait a day before you can claim the new rewards. Still, I would say first focus on spending the bills on stock redistribution and depot, and then upgrade the stations as much as possible with the leftover bills. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite parts of the game, exploration. This tip is also quite simple, but it also helps you save your time, and that is, when you set off to explore new zones or embark on a new quest, make sure you have the following items in your backpack because this will help you save those back and forth trips to the base. I especially recommend carrying tons of relay towers since they will be needed to power up everything on the map. Plus, make sure you grab these 2 upgrades from the research tab. One is called pylon relaying, and the other is relay redistribution. These upgrades make the towers more efficient at transmitting electricity over the map. Oh, and don't forget to build ziplines to create much faster traversal, especially when you start revisiting some places to gather rare materials. Speaking of which, so, in order to ascend your characters, they will need materials from the rare growth sites, and to ascend weapons, you will need rare ores from these sites. As you'll notice, each of them have a timer, and it takes a while for them to refresh, usually about a day or 2, but you definitely want to keep gathering them. Later on in Wuling region, these materials become a bit more specific, and different units and weapons will need different rare materials, so keep that in mind. Also, whenever you step into a new map zone, make sure to locate these rare growths or rare ores as soon as possible, since if you log out after like 15 minutes and come back a day later, you will be missing out on some extra materials that you otherwise could have harvested by now. I mean, it's not a huge loss if you miss out, but it's nice to have plenty of these rare materials, as you're leveling 1 or 2 teams of characters. Okay, so this next tip has to do with weapons. You see, there's 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and 6-star weapon rarities in the game. And when starting out, the game will provide you with a lot of 3-star and 4-star weapons. But honestly, besides raising them to like level 30 or 40, it is much better to just save your resources and wait until you start obtaining 5-star weapons, since they have superior stats in every single way. And trust me, there's going to be plenty of ways how you can obtain those 5-star weapons. Not to mention you might even pull a few from the gacha. Plus, you can gain a free 6-star weapon selector by hitting authority level 45. You can also buy as a free-to-play player the 2nd tier of Battle Pass, which lets you earn back all the origiometry that was spent. And on top of that, another 6-star weapon selector will be earned from this Battle Pass. So yeah, feel free to use 4-star weapons at the start of the game, but don't invest too many resources into them because soon enough, you'll start gaining a lot of 5-star and even some 6-star weapons as you keep playing. It only took me like 8 minutes, but we're finally talking about the factory management. Honestly, this gameplay mechanic is quite deep, and I know some of you might find it a bit too much, especially with all the tutorials popping up all the time, but I will say there's a couple of things you want to take care of as soon as possible, which will make your life much easier. The first one would be plant production. A lot of things require you to process the plants, and this is one of the most efficient ways of doing it. Here's a very basic but super useful blueprint you can check out. Basically, you don't need to drag belts from your automation core, and in this way, you can use one of the plants you picked up during exploration, drop them into the middle of seed picking unit, and it will just keep on producing the same kind of plant forever. The other crucial thing you want to build would be thermal banks, since they help expand the amount of power your factories can handle. If you don't have enough power, the factories will not work. Quite simple. At the very start of the game, you will feed thermal banks with originium ore, but they are super inefficient. So as soon as you can start creating one of the batteries shown here, set up a production line of batteries and then feed them to your thermal banks, so you then don't have to worry about power ever again. Besides that, you can always just check out YouTube tutorials how to make efficient production lines for stuff, or you can also check with your friends because they can share their blueprints. Finally, always keep an eye on this AIC report, which you can click here from the menu. It's always a good idea to see if the item you're generating has higher yield than usage. In other words, if the blue graph is higher, that means you're stockpiling this item and you can use it for other production lines. Okay, now let's talk about the gacha. Frankly, it's quite convoluted, so I'll try to keep it simple. First, we have the beginner banner. You'll get the tickets to pull on it as you progress into the story, and after 40 pulls I believe, you're guaranteed a 6-star unit from the standard pool. Then there's the standard banner, quite basic, just pull on it if you have standard pulls. And after 300 pulls, you can select any 6-star unit from this banner for free. And then finally, we have the featured character banner. Right now it's Levatane who is being featured, however, there's 2 other featured units as well, Yvonne and Gilberta. Whenever you pull a 6-star unit on this banner, you have a 50% chance to get Levatane, otherwise it will be one of the standard units, or Yvonne or Gilberta, since they're part of that pool. So yeah, if you lose a 50-50, you might actually obtain one of the other 2 featured units, who will later on have their own featured banners. But here's what actually works. You are guaranteed a 6-star at 80 pulls, soft pity starting at 65 pulls, and then that 6-star guarantee has 50% chance to be featured unit or the rest of the 6-star pool with the other 2 featured units. However, at 120 pulls, which most gacha veterans have been calling it the Spark system, this one guarantees the featured 6-star unit to appear, but this 120 pity will go away if you pull the featured character early, in this case Levatane. And most importantly, the 120 pull guarantee does not carry over to the next banner, so I highly advise to only pull on the featured banner if you have saved up 120 pulls, because otherwise they will feel like a waste if you don't get that featured unit. I mean, if you get the featured unit early, that's great. You can stash the rest of the pulls for the next banner, but this prevents you from some disastrous scenarios where you spend like 110 pulls you saved up and you end up with no featured unit, and then the banner is over and now we have to build the Spark Pity all over again. Now there's also these 10 extra pulls you gain after making 30 pulls on the banner, but it does not count towards the 120 pull spark, so make sure to account for that. Basically, as you can see, there's a lot of FOMO elements involved here, and I know a lot of you watching my videos are free to play or at best light spenders. I just want to make sure you guys understand how the gacha system works, and you'll hear this from me and from really any content creator. The golden rule if you badly want the featured unit is to make sure you have 120 pulls saved up, so you don't end up disappointed from a bad pulling session. That 120 pull spark does not carry over. So yeah, I'm just here spreading the word, so you know what you're getting yourself into. Lastly, you can pull for weapons by using arsenal tickets, and I won't spend too much time on it, but the same logic applies here as well. You are guaranteed to obtain featured weapon after 8-10 pulls, or 15,840 arsenal tickets. If you really badly want it and don't want to risk it, just save up this exact amount before doing the pulls. But yeah, moving away from the gamba, I just want to share this final corny tip. Don't worry too much. Seriously, I've played this game on multiple beta tests without ever spending money. You can easily enjoy this game without needing to pull for some hot new units. I can't say how the meta will look like in the future, but I've spent hundreds of hours on this game already, and I literally just used some physical comps and I was happy with it. The previous tips I shared is something that I will also follow along. I made this video primarily for myself, to be honest, so I can avoid making those mistakes and have a much smoother experience. Gacha games will keep on using the same monetization model, maybe with a few twists. And sure, the gacha mechanics here are convoluted and kinda meh, but I do think Endfield has some of the best gameplay I ever got to experience in a gacha game. It is super fun, and I hope you guys also enjoy it. Oh, and don't bother wasting your premium currency to refresh sanity. It's not worth it, especially since it costs Origeometry, which is super rare to obtain. Anyway, hope you found this video useful. I'd really appreciate it if you could press the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. I will be covering Endfield because I do really enjoy it, and you can expect to see new videos pretty soon, including some team building tips and character guides. Thanks for watching, and see you very soon.